Hello. Hi. Today I have a question for you. Do you know this famous chair from IKEA? Or you might even have it at home. Well, what if I tell you that you might own a designer object? And even more so, the one that was created by the most famous Finnish architect. My name is Mariia Schu, and today I will tell you all about the Nordic star in art and architecture, Alvar Aalto. The last week I traveled to Vyborg and finally got into one of the most iconic buildings, the library, the public library of Vyborg. And over there I had a tour and finally realized how much he did for this architecture that serves the purpose of human, but not the name of an architect. I thought that I want to tape a video about him and talk about his approach to architecture so we all can get inspired. Aalto was born in the very end of the 19th century in the small Finnish village that used to be a territory of Russian Empire, but in 1917 Finland became independent. His grandpa was working in forest with woods, and I personally think that Aalto took after him his love for nature and this curvy lines of the lakes and stones, and because of his grandpa, wood became his favorite material. Aalto studied at the Polytechnic University of Helsinki, and the interesting fact is that the university nowadays is named after him, so Aalto University. And personally, I think that that's the highlight of the architectural career, like their success, when the university where you studied is named after you. After finishing university, he opened his practice, his bureau. The first employee was one beautiful architect lady, whom, as you may guess, soon became his wife, Paimio Aalto. I always say architects talk only about architecture and they spend so much time at work, so the only chance to find the partner they have among architects, so no wonder. After the wedding, they went to the honeymoon to Italy. Very reasonable choice. Over there, Aalto got really inspired by Italian architecture, so when he came back to Finland, he decided that he wants to transform the city where he lived into the northern Florence. But you might remind me that the architectural style of the library is very different from all these Mediterranean-style houses, and yes, this is correct. The thing is that in 1927 he won the competition for the public library of Vyborg, but then he went for a trip across Europe, where he met Le Corbusier, Walter Gropius, and learned the school of Bauhaus, and came back to Finland knowing all these principles and desiring to do completely different architecture from what he proposed at first. However, his first project after he came back from this trip wasn't the library. He built nowadays UNESCO-protected sanatorium in Paimio. And here I will ask you, do you know any architect who actually dreamt to design a medical building? I personally not. If you do, leave the comment below. It will be very interesting to read the stories. However, he took this challenge to design a place for the sick patients, because back then tuberculosis was treated only with a nice air and sun, and the building serves this function. In the architecture of this building, he already established his design principles for his career, which is architecture and the form supposed to serve the purpose of the human. Second is that he did all the interiors from the doors till the handrails, and also did a product design like this, our famous chair that is still a part of Artec, and which IKEA got inspired and produced their own that you might now have at home, and the one that I mentioned earlier. And why again the sanatorium is so special? That's the first example of the Nordic functionalism. The shape of the building that is done from the reinforced concrete is very much inspired by the architecture of the Bauhaus and colored residential buildings of Le Corbusier. The sanatorium is located inside the forest. If we check out the plan, Aalto makes sure that the maximum amount of patients will get the sun and the air that is very crucial for their recovery. In interior, he also used the color and the shape of the wave that becomes Aalto's signature. Before finishing the project, Aalto gets into the hospital himself. He understands how the patients see the hospital. He creates the furniture, the chair and the stool, specifically for this sanatorium. This furniture he uses also in the library, in the Vyborg Library, the project that I mentioned before. In the 30s, this building was finally completed and Aalto became world famous overnight. It was overnight success because this project was featured in the English magazine as iconic library of that time. The idea was to create something more than just a public library, but rather a cultural center that combines an adult library, kids library, the first in Europe, and a cultural center, or some people call it lecture hall. The building itself located in the park, so you can even pass by it without any notice because it's so nicely put into the landscape. He already designed the building when all pedestrian walks were already in place. Therefore, he does not only one entrance, but actually 4. People coming from different locations will find their way to the library. He doesn't pay that much attention to the facade like many architects do. For him, the most important is the experience of the visitor. The function of the place is the key thing. I believe this is the most famous picture of the library, and this is the concert/lecture hall. And here you see this famous wave of Aalto that I already mentioned before. And the interesting thing is that his surname Aalto translates from the Finnish as the wave. There is a huge debate going on whether he got inspired by the Finnish landscapes or he basically transforms his surname as his signature architectural trick. My guess, it will be the second. The ceiling is constructed from the birch tree and done without any nails used. It serves not only the beauty but also an acoustic function, therefore no extra sound system needed for this lecture/concert hall. Aalto also puts his furniture that he designed for sanatorium here. So here we can see the chairs and the stool. That is now in the production of Artex, so even you can buy it. The special thing is that Aalto calculated an angle of the sun and tilted the glass to 52 degrees, so the sun will not interfere with the readers. The heating system here is also very innovative, so he doesn't use any radiators because they are a source of dust for human and books. Therefore, he put the heating system up next to the windows, so it serves 2 functions. First of all, it protects the windows in the winter from the freezing, and second of all, it produces the gentle heat. On the upper floor, he created a system with a double railing in the way that the reader going down can't leave the space without checking in the book or at least saying hi to the librarian. The basket also was originally here. He designed this in order to protect the book from being damaged, so people who forgot their bags can put the books that they took into paper and deliver it safely back and forth. The third part is the kids library. That's the first kids library in Europe, and here Aalto designed everything from the kids perspective. So the check-in desk is on the kids level, same as the bookshelves. So kid can navigate here perfectly himself. And even more interesting, the 2 libraries, the adult and kids, are not connected whatsoever. That was done on purpose, so kids can build their own experience with books themselves without adults interfering. If you still wonder why Aalto is so recognized around the world, I want to mention last thing. Recently I visited a new library of Helsinki and I was impressed to see that they used his principles in architecture. He created always more than just a building, but an approach that still is up to date now. Today I told you about just a few projects of Alvar Aalto. So if you want to know more, leave me a sign in the comment below. And that's it for today. So thank you for watching and until next time. Bye!